Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Jeff Salamar. You know the drill. Anyway, welcome back to Dear PlayStation. There hasn't been a ton of news ever since the Switch announcement and all that happy shit happened. You know, the Red Dead Redemption and all of that. Not much has happened since. I guess the biggest news would be. I guess one of them would be that. Oh god, Fallout and Skyrim, for one thing, are going to actually have mod support now, but because of PlayStation having a weird infrastructure and all of that, it won't have, what is it? Xbox will have 5 gigs to work with in terms of mod support, and PlayStation will have 1 gig. Xbox will be like PlayStation, where it pretty much allows outside assets and a bunch of shit like that that's external to be used. Kind of like the reason why it uses external hard drives as additional memory on top of the memory inside of it. Whereas PlayStation, if you want to improve your memory, you're going to have to get an internal hard drive. You just have to. Same thing with mod support. They will only allow internal mod and things that come from best stuff. Weapon, small stuff, like weapon stuff, skins, things like that, but nothing major. Nothing in terms of. There was on Imager I saw there was a Skyrim mod mission quest line that was like a murder mystery quest log that had brand new mod made characters, modified world. It explored the dwarven ruins, things like that. It was a sick mod, and I looked into it and I was like, wow, would PlayStation get this? And I thought about it, I was like, probably not, because for whatever reason PlayStation has been really bad about mod support. So half of this video is going to be about the mod support and kind of what PlayStation needs to do going forward, because here's the thing. I'm not huge into mods, but mods are a cool concept. But for a lot of people that are getting more and more into gaming, I mean, there's going to be more and more gamers the next decade. It's going to have to come to the case that, especially with PC gamers getting more involved in the PlayStation community, you're going to have mod support. You're going to have bargaining chips, and you're going to have to combat the Xbox and the PC market and be at least somewhat competitive, especially on the mod support front, because whether people like it or not, mods are becoming more and more popular, more and more prevalent, and mods actually help fix the game. I mean, Skyrim for PC players was made way better, for one thing, and was actually fixed in many ways for a long time because of the modification support. I mean, hell, Fallout 4 is the same fucking way, where it was essentially helped by mods and modification. So the way I look at it is PlayStation, for one thing, needs to get with the times, and they need to start making a better consensus ability to have mod support. That is a big thing that needs to happen. Whether or not it matters to me is irrelevant. It needs to happen just for the fact that gamers want it, and it only benefits the game because essentially mod support for a lot of games, especially best of games, they're the biggest notorious ones. And GTA, Rockstar, people fuck with Rockstar 5 on PC a bunch. The mods on there. What is it? Fallout 4. There's a channel for your radio that people made a mod for Fallout 4 where you can listen to the music from Dirty Frank or Filthy Frank. God, why did I say Dirty Frank? Filthy Frank, because Pink guy. And I know you guys might not know who he is. If you want weird shit, that's awesome. If you're really into weird stuff, that's right up your alley, because Filthy Frank is a weird fucking guy, but he makes some fucking great stuff, in my opinion. Grant, I'm weird, so. But besides the point, I'm getting off topic. It's a point that mods help support the game. It creates an even stronger community, and it makes a very fundamental, strong core to your game, right? And it creates a strong following. That's why Skyrim is still heralded as one of the best of games ever. Even though, honestly, in my opinion, I think it's overhyped. I liked Skyrim, don't get me wrong, but I preferred Oblivion, personally. I thought Oblivion's story was better, even though the ending kind of was meh. I thought the quest lines in terms of the guilds and everything was better, and I was just more invested in the world of Oblivion. Skyrim was cool, but I was more invested in Oblivion. And, the age-old adage of Fallout 3 was better than Fallout 4, and New Vegas definitely was the best of them all, even though it was buggy as fuck. All of them had mod support. And they're all made better because of it, because they ran better. Granted, that might be because of the PC thing, but honestly, it's because the modifications went in and actually People make mods to help frame rate issues, that help with graphical and texture drops, even make patches so that if you have a computer that can run way better than the game's making it, they go in and make a fucking mod that upreses everything. There's a Skyrim mod from like 3 or 4 years ago that made it so that it was already in basically 4K mode. It was HDR modified like 3 years ago or so. And people are playing this modified version of Skyrim that is basically looks probably even better than the one that's about to come out and remastered, right? So it's just one of those things, and I can't believe PlayStation's been dropping the ball on the mod front. I'm glad they were able to hash it out with Bethesda. I guarantee the reason why Bethesda called them out on it is because of these practices. Because PlayStation is so weird when it comes to the whole uh, mod support world of things. Like they're just weird about it, and they've always been weird about it. Um, but they can't be anymore, especially if they want Little Big Planet to be a continued thing. Because Little Big Planet 1 and 2 were great games. They had mod support, but you know the PlayStation 3 was also a small ecosystem even at that time, even when Little Big Planet 2 came out. So it was growing by that point, but it was still a small, system in terms of like ecosphere and everything. It was growing, but there wasn't a huge call around for like why is the lack of mod support here, blah blah blah, because there's such a smaller pool when it comes to that you didn't hear as big of outcry. Now you're hearing it because of bigger games and because it has been such an issue. People kind of wrote off because it's like the PlayStation 3, maybe modding for the PlayStation 3, kind of like making games for it. It's a pain in the ass because of the cell processor, right? Now you don't have that argument. The PS4 is fucking powerful as fuck, and it can do a lot of things. There is no reason why it should not have the ability to do mods, and really cool mods. So, anyway. The other topic I want to talk about is actually my predictions and kind of my ideas of what PSX is going to be. So, PSX right now, from what I'm looking at, because there was no showing for Paris Games Week, obviously, because nothing happened this October in terms of big news for PlayStation beyond, well, not even that, like Pro was talked about a month ago. So there hasn't really been anything said, and that's why I think PSX is going to be a big show this year, because they skipped Paris Games Week, they skipped Gamescom, and there really wasn't anything else in terms of big announcements. So in my mind, PSX is going to be a huge show, and should be. So I'm going to kind of lay down the groundwork for what I think is going to be PSX later this year, and it's probably going to be about an hour to probably 90-minute show, hour to 90 minutes. So I'm going to work with the 90-minute mark, and I'll say what probably would get cut if it was only an hour. So first things first, I think in terms of big AAA games for PlayStation, you're going to have probably God of War show up, in terms of, because there hasn't really been anything since E3 about God of War. So that's been 5 months, so, or so. I don't know the exact figures, but my point is that it's been long enough to where God of War has been quiet that they probably should bring it out, show off another gameplay demo. Not even that long of a one, just show like 5 to 10 minutes. I'd say 8 minutes would be a really good sweet point and a sweet spot. And then, it would show off something different. It'd show off a little bit more of the dynamic between the son and the father in terms of like the mechanics of how all of that works in terms of the RPG elements and all of that, right? And I think another cool thing would be kind of getting a better idea of what the combat's going to be in general, because there wasn't a lot of combat shown in the E3 demo. And new monster variants and stuff, but obviously I don't want them to go too much into the story. I don't want them to show off any bosses actually at this one. I don't want them to do anything like that. Just show off grunts, show off a little bit of the character development, and show off how the mechanics work. I think that's a big gameplay element they need to do. The flip side, I think Days Gone would deserve a good showing here too. And I think kind of like God of War, they show off a different dimension. I think they show off the side quest system, how their idea right now of the quest log system is going to work, what the world kind of looks like, how the bike will function, driving, and all that kind of happy stuff. And I think it would benefit them a lot to show off the nighttime system, what night looks like, what stealth looks like, and what the crafting system would look like mid-game. Right, so like what can you craft, what are the items, and what's the benefit, and blah blah blah. So show off more dimension and more depth to Days Gone. Don't go into the story. I don't want anything story related for these kind of games. I guess that's why I want to get out in front right now. Really, I want mechanics, world, systems, things like that. I want the nitty gritty stuff because then you can get the story trailers done for next year to hype up for the game. Because I think it's more important to get the gameplay stuff out in front. Then you can come back and be like, this is what the story is going to be. Because I think it's more important to get gamers hyped about what the game is going to do, how it's going to play, and what it's going to look like, versus trying to hype them on a story and then coming back later to be about the game, right? I think Red Dead Redemption is kind of doing that. Red Dead Redemption 2 in terms of showing off the engine, the world, the gameplay, not saying shit about characters or anything like that. I think that's smart. Looking back at it. Um, on top of that, I think Detroit is going to get a firm announced date. I don't think God of War and Days Gone need an announced date yet. They're projected for sometime the second half of 2017. I'm predicting God of War at November and October, September for Days Gone. That could be flip flopped. I don't know how far in Days Gone is. It looks pretty far in, but it still does need a little polish. But that's also because it's an open world game. Flip side, God of War looks pretty far along, surprisingly enough. Um, but who knows how much is done of that too? Which is why I'm thinking they really want to take their time. But Corey Balrog is a genius, so whenever he says like, "Hey, this is where we're at," I'm gonna let the man do it because he is a god among men. I was so happy that he came back after God of War 2 for this. Like, it's just so fucking fitting. Anyway, on top of that, Detroit I think gets a release date because it has been previewed so much, and I think that it would behoove it to have a release date. I'm predicting May. I think it'd be better. May would be a good time frame for them to release the game, and May or June, I think, late spring, early summer, probably a good window. But what do I know, right? I think in terms of the trailer, I think it'd just be another character trailer, maybe some gameplay, just to show off how the game functions in terms of the game itself. But beyond that, I couldn't tell you beyond that, to be honest, because um, I don't know what the smart move would be. I don't want them to show off too much. I don't want to show off too many characters. So I think they show off a different character, a third character, and show off some gameplay, and then pretty much cut it to black from there. Just be like, cool, this is what you know of the game now. We're going radio silent until May. Or we might do a trailer in like March just to kind of talk about the game a little bit more, but that'll be about it. So next up, I would really like for a lot of Vita love to be out and present, obviously. Vita is going to get it, and they're going to do a show presence, but I think it's going to wind down a little bit this year. I think they're going to talk about the games, sure, that are coming still to the Vita, but I think the big thing for the show, the Vita is going to get loved, but it's going to be PlayStation 4 and VR, I think. It's going to be a big show for both of those kind of dimensions and both those worlds. So, with that in mind, Vita-wise, I think they're going to show off, the support that's coming to that, which I honestly, top of my head, I don't know what that is. Um, Meanwhile, what I do know is that the VR, they're going to talk about Farpoint, they're going to talk about the games upcoming, and talking about, further support that's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. Some more VR shit, right? Which, good. VR is awesome. So it deserves attention, and I think they'll show up stats and whatnot in the attached rate and then the future projects coming up. But VR will have a section, but I think it'll be more predominantly on the games and the reactions to VR, and then kind of where VR is going to go further. And like, I think they're going to talk about the integration of like movies and concerts and things like that. I think they'll bring that up, and the fact that they want to do more with VR than just gaming, right? On top of that, I think in terms of the other stuff, the other PS4 games that'll be talked about, I wouldn't be surprised if they talk about, Call of Duty and Battlefield, one or the other, or maybe both. Watch Dogs, maybe. They're definitely going to talk about The Last Guardian, because for whatever reason, they probably not. Well, yeah, because it'll come out in December, so that'll probably be the last trailer for The Last Guardian. And then they'll probably talk about a few other games. They might bring out Wild, but I don't think so. I think that went into incubation. I think they're going to announce a game. I think Sucker Punch is going to come out and officially announce their game. That's my prediction. That's my big prediction. Sucker Punch comes out and officially announces their new game. But anyway, that's kind of what I'm thinking for PSX. Let me know what you guys think that's going to happen. Hit the like button, sub button, comments, all that happy shit. See you guys in the next episode. Love each and every one of you. Have a good one. Peace.